My husband sold our house while I was on a business trip, claiming he needed to find himself in Thailand, then started sending me daily videos of his spiritual journey while living with his 20-year-old yoga instructor. I, 34F, still can't believe I'm writing this. 2 months ago, I was focused on my career in corporate finance, happily married, or so I thought, to my husband of 8 years, Jake, 36M, and living in our dream house that we'd spent 3 years renovating together. Now I'm living in my sister's guest room, talking to divorce lawyers, and watching my soon-to-be ex-husband's daily spiritual awakening videos from a beach in Koh Phangan. Let me start from the beginning, and trust me, you'll want to hear all of this. Jake and I met at a finance conference in Chicago. He was presenting a detailed analysis of market trends, and I was immediately attracted to his methodical mind and dry sense of humor. Our first date involved creating a spreadsheet to analyze the best restaurants in the city. That's the kind of nerds we were. Within 2 years, we were married, and everyone said we were perfect for each other. The logical power couple. I had a 2-week business trip to London for a major client merger. Jake seemed supportive as always, helped me pack, and even drove me to the airport. He kept texting me sweet messages during my first week away, things like "miss you beautiful" and "the bed feels empty without you." Looking back, I should have noticed something was off when he started sending philosophical quotes about finding one's true path and breaking free from material constraints. The week before my trip, there were subtle signs I now kick myself for missing. He'd started listening to spiritual podcasts during his morning commute, not too weird on its own, but this was a man who previously only listened to financial news and true crime podcasts. He'd also begun declining his usual happy hour meetups with colleagues, saying he needed to align his chakras. We'd laughed about it, thinking he was just joking about being tired. The bomb dropped exactly 9 days into my trip. I was in the middle of a presentation when my phone started blowing up with messages from our neighbors. Apparently, there was a moving truck in our driveway, and Jake was supervising as workers carried out all our furniture. Mrs. Peterson, our next-door neighbor of 5 years, sent me a video of Jake directing movers while wearing what appeared to be Thai fisherman pants and burning sage around the moving truck. I excused myself from the meeting and frantically called him, but it went straight to voicemail. Then I got an email. Yes, an email from my husband of 8 years. The same man who insisted on having serious conversations in person because written communication lacks emotional nuance decided to blow up our entire life via Gmail. The subject line read, "My spiritual journey begins, thank you for understanding." I still have it saved, and sometimes I read it just to remind myself this isn't some elaborate nightmare. Here's what it said in full. "My dearest Sarah, I've realized that our life together has been holding me back from my true purpose. While you were away, I met the most incredible spiritual guide, Lotus, formerly known as Ashley, who opened my eyes to the limitations of our materialistic existence. I've sold our house, paperwork attached, and will be using my half to fund my spiritual journey in Thailand. Lotus has invited me to join her retreat center, where she teaches yoga and meditation to lost souls like myself. I know this seems sudden, but when the universe calls, we must answer. The past 8 years have been a beautiful karmic lesson, but now I must ascend to a higher vibrational plane. Our marriage was a sacred container for growth, but now that container must be broken for both our spirits to soar. Lotus has shown me that our attachment to material possessions and societal expectations has been poisoning our souls. I've donated most of our furniture to a local monastery. They didn't want the Peloton, so I sold it on Facebook Marketplace. I put your half of the money in our joint account. I've also rehomed our goldfish, Leonard, to a Buddhist temple where he can complete his own spiritual journey. P.S. I left your clothes and personal items in storage unit number 147 at Safe Store on Madison Avenue. The first month is paid for. I've organized everything according to its energetic frequency, so you'll find your work clothes in boxes labeled lower vibration and your yoga pants in ascending energy. P.P.S. Please don't let this impact your merger. I know how hard you've worked on it, and I don't want my spiritual awakening to affect your quarterly bonus. I thought it was a joke. It had to be a joke. But no. Jake had actually managed to sell our house in a week, thanks to our hot real estate market and a cash buyer. He had power of attorney, which I'd given him years ago when I started traveling for work, and used it to push through the sale at lightning speed. By the time I got back to the States, he was already posting Instagram stories from Thailand, doing sunset yoga with a woman young enough to be his daughter. Our house, our beautiful house that we'd spent countless weekends renovating, where we'd hosted dinner parties and planned our future, was sold to a young tech couple who immediately started turning it into what our neighbors tell me is a modern minimalist paradise. The irony of Jake selling our house to escape materialism, only to have it become an Instagram-worthy showcase of expensive minimalism, is not lost on me. But it gets better, or worse, depending on how you look at it. Jake has now decided that his journey needs to be documented for his future followers. Every single day, he sends me videos of his transformation. I've watched my formerly clean-cut, spreadsheet-loving husband transform into a man bun-wearing, crystal-collecting guru wannabe who starts every morning by chanting on the beach. The videos follow a predictable pattern. They always start with a sunrise meditation, where Jake, River, sits cross-legged on the beach, wearing what appears to be increasingly expensive simple linen clothing. He then spends 20 to 30 minutes talking about his latest spiritual breakthrough, usually involving some combination of cosmic energy, divine alignment, and letting go of his former self's limitations. Yesterday's video was particularly special. Jake, he now goes by River, apparently the name came to him during a particularly intense coconut water cleanse, spent 15 minutes explaining how selling our house was actually a gift to me because material possessions are chains that bind our souls to the earthly plane. This while he sat in what appeared to be a luxury beachfront villa, paid for with the money from our house sale. He's also started sending me daily energy readings based on my astrological chart, a chart he had Lotus/Ashley create, which somehow got my birthday wrong by 3 months. The readings usually suggest that I need to release my attachment to earthly success and open myself to the possibility of a more spiritual path. Rich advice from a man who used to mock horoscopes as statistical nonsense for people who don't understand probability. The best, worst part? Remember Lotus/Ashley, his spiritual guide? Turns out she was a dropped out of her college yoga teacher training program 6 months ago and moved to Thailand to find herself. Now she's charging gullible Western tourists $500 a day for spiritual awakening sessions. And my Harvard-educated husband is not only falling for it, he's invested in her retreat center. I did some digging, I spent a wine-fueled evening deep diving into her social media history. 6 months ago, Lotus/Ashley was trying to make it as a fashion influencer in Los Angeles. When that didn't work out, she apparently had her own spiritual awakening while on a 2-week vacation in Thailand. Now she's positioned herself as a multi-lifetime spiritual guide who can unlock your soul's true potential through ancient wisdom and modern luxury retreats. My sister thinks Jake is having a midlife crisis. My best friend is convinced he's been brainwashed. My mother just wants to know if Mercury is in retrograde. Meanwhile, I'm stuck dealing with lawyers who seem equally baffled by the situation. Apparently, my husband became a wannabe yogi and sold our house while I was at work is not a common legal scenario. One of my lawyers actually had to take a moment during our consultation because he was laughing so hard at Jake's latest Instagram post, a detailed breakdown of how his previous life as a finance warrior, his words, was preparing him for his true calling as a light worker. This from the man who once spent 3 hours creating a PowerPoint presentation to convince me we needed to invest in a specific type of vacuum cleaner. I've frozen our joint accounts, but he'd already transferred his half of the house sale to a Thai bank account. The divorce lawyers say I can challenge the house sale, but it would be a long and expensive process with no guarantee of success. At least he was thoughtful enough to put my things in storage instead of donating them to a monastery. The storage unit situation deserves its own paragraph. When I finally went to collect my things, I found everything meticulously organized and labeled with spiritual post-it notes. My work suits were marked with karmic burden, while my yoga pants had little notes saying ascending energy wear. He'd even categorized my books. Apparently, my collection of mystery novels represents my attachment to earthly drama, but my one copy of Eat, Pray, Love, a gag gift from years ago, was labeled Seed of Awakening. The videos keep coming daily. This morning's featured Jake/River leading a soul-cleansing breathwork session on the beach, followed by a 20-minute monologue about how our marriage was karmic debt from a past life that we've now resolved. Lotus/Ashley could be seen in the background, arranging crystals in sacred geometric patterns for their upcoming full moon money manifestation retreat, only $3,000 per person, space is limited. Speaking of Lotus/Ashley, she started featuring prominently in Jake's videos, always positioned as the wise teacher despite being nearly 2 decades his junior. She speaks in what I can only describe as a manufactured spiritual accent, part Valley Girl, part what she probably thinks Indian gurus sound like. Last week, she led a workshop on conscious uncoupling from your previous life path, which Jake attended and diligently took notes on using a $200 intentionally sourced notebook made from ethically harvested bamboo. I oscillate between rage, disbelief, and occasionally, incredulous laughter. Last week, I accidentally played one of his videos during girls' night, and we ended up turning it into a drinking game. 1 shot for every time he says universe, 2 for spiritual awakening, and finish your drink when he mentions his divine connection with Lotus. We had to call it quits after 20 minutes because we were all too drunk to continue. My therapist says I'm handling this remarkably well, but I think I'm still in shock. How do you process your husband of 8 years basically running away to become an Instagram guru? The man used to make fun of people who did yoga. He called meditation nap time for adults. Now he's posting daily affirmations and selling enlightenment coaching packages. The worst part isn't even the house or the money, it's realizing that the person I thought I knew better than anyone could transform into a complete stranger overnight. Every new video feels like I'm watching some bizarre parallel universe version of my husband. Yesterday, he announced he's writing a book called From Spreadsheets to Spirituality, A Modern Man's Awakening. I wish I was making this up. The chapter titles he shared include gems like the divine mathematics of letting go and calculating your karmic return on investment. He's even created a formula for spiritual awakening that he claims combines ancient wisdom with modern analytics. Apparently, your spiritual enlightenment level can be calculated using a complex equation involving your birth month, the number of crystals you own, and your daily coconut water intake. My lawyer says I have a strong case for an at-fault divorce, but Jake/River keeps sending emails about resolving our karmic ties with love and light instead of responding to legal notices. He genuinely seems to believe he's done nothing wrong. In his mind, he's freed both of us from our materialistic prison. I'm starting to think he's either had a complete mental break or this is the world's most elaborate midlife crisis. His latest business venture is particularly rich. He started offering financial freedom through spiritual surrender workshops. Yes, the man who liquidated our joint investments to fund his spiritual journey is now charging people $999 for advice on consciously uncoupling from monetary attachments. The workshop description includes the phrase "learn to release your wealth to attract more abundance," which sounds suspiciously like "give me your money to make more money." For now, I'm focusing on rebuilding my life. I've found a nice apartment, thrown myself into work, and started attending a support group for people whose partners have left them in unusual circumstances. Turns out I'm not the only one whose spouse had a spiritual awakening that conveniently involved running off with someone half their age, though I might be the only one whose husband documents it all on social media. The support group has been surprisingly helpful, if only because it makes my situation seem almost normal in comparison. There's a woman whose husband joined a circus to find his inner clown, and another whose wife sold their dairy farm to start a vegan psychic hotline in Bali. We meet weekly to share updates and remind each other that sometimes the trash takes itself out. I've started saving the videos, partly for the inevitable divorce proceedings and partly because I suspect one day, when Jake/River's spiritual journey runs its course, or he runs out of money, whichever comes first, these will be valuable reminders of why I'm better off without him. In case anyone's wondering, Lotus/Ashley's Retreat Center has 5-star reviews on TripAdvisor, all written by accounts created in the last month. Jake's latest video shows them planning a couple's karmic cleansing retreat. The irony is not lost on me. They're charging $5,000 per couple for a weekend of conscious uncoupling from societal expectations of monogamy and exploring your soul's true romantic frequency. So here I am, 34 years old, starting over, and with a front row seat to my soon-to-be ex-husband's spiritual metamorphosis via daily video updates. If nothing else, it's given me great material for my own book, How to Divorce a Self-Proclaimed Guru, a practical guide to maintaining sanity when your husband finds himself in Thailand. The silver lining? My career is thriving. Turns out channeling all your rage and disappointment into work can do wonders for your productivity. I just got promoted to Senior VP, and my new office has a great view of the city. I'm thinking of sending Jake/River a thank you note for helping me manifest this abundance through the divine act of abandonment. P.S. He just posted another video. Apparently, he's now offering corporate mindfulness coaching sessions. Someone please remind me how this is the same man who once said meditation apps were for people who can't handle real life. His corporate packages start at $10,000 for a half-day retreat where he teaches executives how to transform their quarterly reports into spiritual manifestos. Update: thank you all for the overwhelming support and advice. To address some common questions, yes, I've kept copies of everything for legal purposes. Yes, I'm in therapy. No, I haven't blocked him yet because my lawyer wants to monitor his posts for divorce proceedings. And to the person who asked if Lotus/Ashley's Retreat Center is the same one from that Netflix documentary about wellness scams, I'm looking into it. Update 2, you guys, it gets better. Jake/River just announced he's launching a cryptocurrency called Karma Coin. The white paper, written in what appears to be Sanskrit-inspired Comic Sans, explains that each coin represents a quantum unit of spiritual energy. I can't make this stuff up. My lawyer is having a field day with this one. Update 3, a former client of Lotus/Ashley reached out to me. Apparently, Before the yoga retreat, she was running a dolphin telepathy workshop in Hawaii under the name Starlight. The plot thickens. Edit: for those asking about the storage unit, yes, I got all my stuff out, including the family photos he thoughtfully packed in a box labeled attachments to past identities. At least he didn't try to sage them first. Though he did leave a crystal in each box for energetic protection during the transition. Update 4, 1 month later. Well folks, you're not going to believe this, but the Karma Coin cryptocurrency scheme imploded spectacularly last week. Turns out mixing spiritual enlightenment with blockchain technology wasn't the revolutionary concept Jake/River thought it would be. Lotus/Ashley apparently had a vision that told her to convert all their retreats funds into Karma Coin. Now their investors, mostly middle-aged executives seeking spiritual business optimization, are threatening legal action. Jake's latest video was filmed from a significantly less luxurious location, what appears to be a hostel dorm room instead of their usual beachfront villa. The real kicker? Remember Leonard, our goldfish who was completing his spiritual journey at the Buddhist temple? One of our old neighbors visited Thailand and spotted him in the lobby aquarium of a budget hotel near their former retreat center. Apparently, the temple didn't want him either. Jake sent me an email yesterday asking if I still had his old work contacts because, and I quote, "The universe is suggesting a temporary return to the material plane to replenish my spiritual investment funds." I forwarded it to my lawyer without response. Lotus/Ashley has already moved on to her next venture. She's now in Bali, rebranding herself as a quantum financial healer under the name Moonflower. Jake's last Instagram story showed him looking pensively at his laptop, probably realizing that burning bridges with Excel sheets might not have been his wisest move. My book deal just got finalized, and the publisher wants to include a chapter about Karma Coin's collapse. Life really does have a sense of humor.